Hello, everyone. My name is Adrienne Warren, and I am the host of the Kindaris Pictures podcast. This episode will be brief, but I'm super excited about the subject. So, I first learned about the Dunbar Hotel while reading Donald Bogle's book, Bright Boulevards and Bold Dreams, the story of Black Hollywood, or the Black Hollywood story. I can't remember how it goes, but I was so fascinated by this particular story about the hotel while I was reading it. Like, I was so fascinated that I even made it a location in some of the scripts that I wrote over the years, like in college and everything. But yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Here is a history of Central Avenue's own Dunbar Hotel. With the aid of the Black community in Los Angeles, in 1928, Dr. John and Mrs. Veda Somerville built the Hotel Somerville on the famed Central Avenue. The Somervilles campaigned to build the hotel so that it may be used for the NAACP's first West Coast convention. Additionally, they wanted to establish lodging for LA's Black visitors. Donors, craftsmen, laborers, contractors, all of these different people within the community came together to build this hotel from the ground up. And I specifically say from the ground up because during the early 20th century, most Black-owned hotels were actually buildings that had been refurbished and were previously white-owned. So this was and is believed to be the first Black-owned hotel that was actually built specifically for Black patrons. So it was a 3-floor building, Art Deco style, had businesses, barbershop and hair salon. A club was next door, Club Alabama, and all these different accommodations and things. Beautiful place. So it was an instant attraction for the community and for visitors to Los Angeles alike. But after the stock market crash of 1929, the Somervilles actually had to make the decision to sell the hotel to white investors. The investors, they renamed it the Dunbar Hotel after Paul Laurence Dunbar. But thankfully, within that same year, it was sold to a Black lawyer named Lucius Lomax. And it remained a political, financial, entertainment hub, melting pot for Los Angeles Black residents, and not even just for the Black people of Los Angeles, for everyone that in Los Angeles, the Hollywood stars, white and Black. But it was that place, that central magnetic place for Black LA, Black Hollywood, Black California. And unfortunately, as was the case for many prominent communities in Black America, first desegregation and then eventually just the overall turmoil of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, like the riots and just all the things that went on during that time. This led to the Dunbar Hotel's demise. So the Dunbar Hotel officially closed its doors in 1974. So throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, it went through many different transformations. Like at one point it was closed completely, as you know, and then it reopened as an apartment building or something like that. And then it just kind of went through these different transformations, again, as a lot of those old buildings and businesses did throughout the 80s and 90s after they closed. And it was pretty much just a shell of what it used to be. Like, no matter what it was used for, it just wasn't what it was in the 1930s and 40s. But moved to the 2000s or into the 2000s, and we start seeing the beginnings of a revival. We see people becoming more interested in not just reviving the Dunbar Hotel, but Central Avenue in general, because that entire avenue kind of declined a little bit. Declined quite a bit. So now the Dunbar Hotel is Dunbar Village, or the Dunbar Village Apartment. It is a housing community for families and seniors. So I went to the website and went to go check it out, see what it was looking like a little bit. Building still, based on the photos on the website, it looks exactly the same. Beautiful lighting in the photos. Like when I say it looks exactly the same, if you look at older pictures and look at especially the lobby, it looks, again, exactly the same. And it looks like they have things that go on, movie nights, bingo nights, of course, and after school programs and all that. So it looks like it's thriving once again, and it's being used for something that benefits the community and the people that live in it. So that was a brief hopefully comprehensive history and summary of the Dunbar Hotel, formerly known as Hotel Somerville. I hope this episode was informative, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you all for tuning in to the third episode of the Kindaris Pictures podcast. Like I stated earlier, I first learned about the Dunbar Hotel and Donald Bogle's book, and I fell in love with the visual, like the picture that he painted with the words of how this building looked and who went there, what people did there. I just really loved imagining people like Dorothy Dandridge and Cab Calloway, Ella Fitzgerald, and then just even the everyday people that came into this beautiful place for meetings, hair appointments, and just for a drink, something to eat, all these different things to do. And I am going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak on behalf of all people, black people, but you know, usually when I think of the 1930s and the 1940s and African Americans during that time, the images that I'm used to being fed just in general usually bleak images. And it wasn't the best time for African. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We know what happened back then. You know, some of the stuff is still going on, but you know, back then, I hope what I'm saying is making sense, because I don't want to make it seem like everything was bad back then. But basically what I'm trying to say is rarely when we look back, like even if we look in our history textbooks, we know about lynchings, we know about marches, protests, boycotts, jailing, busing, and all. We know about these things, but you know, what about the black Hollywood stars? What about the stars from Harlem and just all over the country? What about the lawyers? What about the politicians? You know, and the hotels, the neighborhoods. What was Black Wall Street? All the different ones, but it's particularly the one in Tulsa. What was that like before it was burned down? What was Rosewood like before it was burned down? What I want to know. Sometimes I want to know, a lot of times I want to know about that part of my history as well, and would appreciate if, textbooks and documentaries kind of talked about that as well. But I do want to express appreciation to Donald Bogle again for introducing me to the Dunbar Hotel, this beautiful, glamorous place. And I want to thank the Somervilles, the late Somervilles, and all of those, Lucius Lomax, all of those black business people of the 20th century who saw what was going on with their people and decided, you know what, I want to open a bank. I want to open Five and Dime or whatever, a hotel. I want to bring some light, sunshine into our lives, and then put some money into our pockets too. That's never bad. That's sunshine in itself. So I do want to express appreciation to pay homage to the late people who were able to build those foundations. But yeah, for more information about this episode and its subject, please visit kindarispictures.com. There you will find a link to the site's blog. And in the blog, I provide references for this episode. So, make sure you're searching episode 3 or for episode 3. And again, that's where the references and sources for this particular episode's content is going to be. And so, yeah, just check that out. And again, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you come back for more.